Good evening, everyone. So from today, we will talk about the second part of this class. In the first, I think it's around 5 weeks. So we talk about the global climate change. It's given by Dr. Chen. So from today, we will talk about the second part. It's about the society response. So it's mainly about the impacts of climate change on our systems. So here you can see I just uploaded the PowerPoint. Okay, so before the class, I want to share some information about the examination. So I think Dr. Chen already told us the distribution of the scores. So the final examination accounts for 50%. So for final examination, it has 100 scores. So we have 50 from the first part, the global climate change. I think in last week you just finished the quizzes. So I think in the quizzes there are many calculations. Okay, so the first part is about climate change, about the foundation of the climate change, and there are many calculations. So from today, the second part, the society response, also accounts for 50%. It has 50 points. For this part, we have no calculations because we mainly introduce how the climate change affect our natural system, our human system, our economy, and how we can respond to climate change. So this part is mainly about the common knowledge. So here we put all the impacts in the following 4 classes. So the second part is not difficult. It's just relatively simple. So you need just to remember, or just to need to know how the climate change, how the global warming, the temperature increase, the CO2 concentration increase affect our economy, and how we respond to that. Okay, so this is the title of class of today. So this part, the first class is about the impacts on natural and human system. It's part of the impacts. Here is the syllabus of this class. So first part is about introduction, scientific basis, observe the changes, history, projection, and carbon cycle. From today, the second part is society responses. We have 4 classes. First one is today, it's about the natural and human system. And then we will talk about the economic implications. Economic implication is to consider the cost, the benefit and the cost of the climate change. And then the social political impacts. This is the large scale impact in the future if the climate change continues to increase. And then human psychology. Human psychology here is to analyze why we are slow to respond to climate change. It's mainly about the reasons. But in recent years, we are already working to respond to climate change. And finally, we have a class about mitigation and adaptation. So it's about how we can mitigate the climate change. It's about how to reduce the carbon emission. And adaptation is about how to adapt to climate change, because climate change is indeed posing the negative effects to us. Okay, today is about natural and human system. Here are 2 latest news about climate change. So it's already happened in the last year. But from the January of this year so far. So there are also many different news to report something about this. So the first one is about the 2023 is the hottest year on record. So it's close to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So from the first part, we already know our target. Our target is to control the temperature increase within 2 degrees Celsius. So far it's close to 1.5. So it means we need hard work to mitigate the climate change. But this 1.5 degrees Celsius come from 2 reasons. The first one is climate change. El Nino effect. So if you want to know more information, you can click the link. The second news is about a journal paper. It's about the physics-based early warning signal shows that AMOC is on tipping course. The AMOC is a important marine current from the equator region to the Arctic area, so it can release the heat from the equator to the Arctic area. So and here the journal paper indicates the AMOC, this current is almost on the tipping point. It means it's possible the current can be stopped, or under the current is already weakening every year. So, but we will talk about the AMOC in the following classes for more details. So here is the question. So have you felt the climate change? So do you have any examples? So we are already suffering from the climate change. So do you have any examples? Because the climate change is mainly shown by the temperature increase. But the reason is the carbon dioxide increase in the atmosphere, and then it causes the increase of the temperature increase, and so it causes a series of problems to our natural system, to our human system, and also has impact on our economy. Because our target is to control within 2 degrees Celsius, so here there is some modeling work to predict the temperature increase in the future. So nowadays we are at this point. So if we have strict mitigation measures, it's possible that we can control the temperature by the red line, so it's within 2 degrees Celsius by the end of this century. So this is our target. And there's also possibility the temperature can be around maybe 2.5 degrees Celsius. So this is the modeling work. So here there's a video I want to show here. So what the 3 degrees increase looks like for our planet. And here it talks about a lot of examples of how climate change affect our economy. So from this video, you can have a basic understanding of the impacts. Okay, and this is a very long video, so here I will only show a few minutes. Yeah, this is a very long video, so let's stop here. So it already gives many keywords about the impacts of climate change. So from at the beginning, it gives an example of the people living in Bangladesh. It's in Himalaya mountains, so it's at a high altitude. So because it's affected by strong precipitation. There's also an example in the Central America. It's affected by the drought because of less rainfall in that area, and there are also some small islands in Pacific Oceans. So because of the sea level rise, so their land is some part of their land is already submerged in the sea. So and it caused the migration to the city areas. So in general, there's a special word for this. It's called the climate refugees. So and so far we are experiencing the temperature increase around 1.1 and 1.2 degrees Celsius increase. So far there's already a part of people affected by the climate change. So but for the 3 degrees Celsius world, there will be more people affected by the climate change. So okay, let's continue. We will talk about how climate change affects our life in more details. This is the content of this class. So it's about the impacts on nature and the human system. So first is about the overview, and then we talk about the freshwater resources, the ecosystems, food, fiber, and forest products, the coastal system, the low-lying areas, industry, settlement, society, and the human health. Finally, we have an example of Hong Kong about the energy consumption and the global warming. So we will talk about these parts one by one. For the overview, they are not only the overview because in this class we will talk about the impacts. So most of the impacts we can just be described by some sentences. So you can see here the PowerPoint. We can see there are a lot of sentences. Okay, to show the impacts. So here are some general description about the impacts of climate change. So first is observational evidence from the continents and the most oceans already shows that our natural systems are being affected by the regional climate change, especially caused by temperature increase. And the anthropogenic warming already had a discernible influence on many physical and biological systems. Impacts of climate change will vary regionally. So it means the impacts is not uniformly distributed. It affects some regions, but for some other regions, they may be affected by other forms of impacts. So some areas experience the flooding, but some others may experience the drought. This is because of the non-uniform distribution of the water resources. And the impacts will increase over time if the global temperature continues increasing. And it can be divided into physical system, biological system, and the human system. So we will talk about these systems. So here is about the future risks and impacts by climate change. You can see here, first, the climate change will amplify the existing risks and create new risks. So the amplifying existing risks means the extreme weather events, because even without the climate change, without the global warming, we will experience the extreme weather events. But because of the global warming, we will have more extreme weather events in the future. So this is the amplifying, and it also creates new risks for our systems. Because temperature increase can cause some change of our Earth, and then can introduce new risks. There's an example about the melting of the Arctic area. So because in the old days, there are many microorganisms or the bacteria or viruses or buried in the ice. So after the melting, there will be new viruses released into our human society. So it possibly cause some new diseases. And then the risks are unevenly distributed. And in general, the disadvantaged people suffer more from the climate change. Just as shown in the video, you can see they lived in the mountain areas. So in general, the economy there is not very good. So but they are the first batch of people suffering from the climate change. And so there are already many places are not affected by the climate change. And the impact is irreversible impact. So it means if it already caused the impact, for example, it may cause a threat to the biological system. Once the biological system is broken, so it's not easy to return to the original status. So we will have some examples in the following slides. And the continued high emissions will lead to mostly negative impacts for biodiversity, ecosystem services, and economic development. It means if we continue increase the emission of carbon dioxide, in general, the impacts are negative. So in this class, we will actually the most of the impacts are negative. There is only a little part of the impact is modestly positive. The first section of natural world is the freshwater resources, because this is the global cycling of the water resources. So here it shows some fundamentals about the freshwater resource. So the source, the precipitation, the glacier, the snowmelt fed river basin, and groundwater, and so on. This describes the water cycle from the evaporation to the atmosphere, and then they go back to the ground, and then forming the rivers and go back to the ocean. So here is a simple graph to show the water cycle from the evaporation here, and then the water becomes a vapor in the atmosphere, and then go to the higher area because of the temperature increase in the high altitude. And so the water vapor will condense into the water drops, and then small water drops, and they form the cloud. So sometimes they will experience the cold regions, so the it will form the raining process. And then, so we can also call it the precipitation. So the water will go back to the ground, and then on the ground, it forms the lakes, the reservoirs, or the rivers, and then the water will goes back to the sea. So this is the typical water cycle. And so for the temperature increase caused by the climate change, so each part of this cycle will be affected by the climate change. So the first step is the evaporation will be enhanced by the temperature increase, because the seawater temperature will also be increased slightly. It will enhance the evaporation. It means there will be more water vapor in the atmosphere. Here are some sentences to describe how the climate change affects the water cycle, and the water cycle will affect our natural system and our human. So we can see the first one is about the climate change will cause the temperature increase. Sea level rise. Sea level rise is caused because of the temperature increase. Will cause the melting of the glaciers in the mountains or in Atlantic area. So it will cause the sea level rise. The precipitation variability, because temperature increase will also change the weather pattern. Or if someone study the atmospheric physics, we will know it will affect the movement of the air, and then affect the precipitation. It means the precipitation pattern will be changed. Some areas will have more precipitation. Some areas will have less precipitation. And then more than 1/6 of the world's population live in glacier-fed river basins. So because of the big cities are in general located near the rivers, so the precipitation change will affect the runoff of the rivers. So sometimes it may flood the city, or it can cause the drought, or because of the drought there will be not enough water for the city use. So it can be affected the seasonal shift in stream flow. Seasonal change means temperature increase will cause higher temperature in winter. So there will be more melting water in the winter. So it increases the runoff in winter. So the second thing we can see, it increases the ratio of winter to annual flows because of the melting in the winter is enhanced. It also reduced the renewable surface water and groundwater resources significantly in most dry subtropical regions. And it will intensify the water competition among agriculture, ecosystem, settlements, industry, and energy production. So it indicates the drought part, because this is meant for the dry subtropical region. So here, an example for this area is about the US. It's the Colorado River. So the drying problem of Colorado River already studied around 10 years ago, many years ago. So we have some videos to show this. So that's the case. Here is some results of the climate change. You can see water resources at the high latitude is projected to increase. High latitude means it's more close to the north part, or more close to the Arctic region. So the temperature increase means the melting of the glaciers. So there will be more water there, and also it may bring more precipitation in the north part. So here the evaluations, there may be around 100% to 300% greater for runoff than for precipitation. This is caused by the melting of the glaciers. And the second one is sea level rise will extend the areas of salinization of the groundwater and estuaries, because the sea level rise will flood the coastal cities. Because in general the cities is very close to the sea level. So if there is 1 to 2 meters sea level rise increase, so many areas will be flooded by the cities. And the storms or the tropical cyclone can also introduce the flooding to the coastal cities. And here the precipitation intensity and variability is projected to increase. The intensity means there will be more heavy rains. So for example, in Hong Kong, in recent years, we already suffered almost each year we will suffer from one signal-turn tropical cyclone, and it will bring more heavy precipitation to the inner areas. The variability means the distribution is not uniform. So I remember in just recent years, we heard a lot about the heavy precipitation in some regions, and we also heard the droughts in some other areas. So this is the variability of the precipitation. And here it indicates 20% of population live in river basins, so they will be affected by the increased flood hazard. Floods and droughts are two typical weather events here impacted by climate change. You can see the higher precipitation extremes in warmer climates are very likely to occur. And a very wet monsoon Asia is predicted, a very wet winter Europe is predicted, and the precipitation intensity increases almost everywhere. The flooding risks, there will be more flooding risks all over the world, and the more precipitation will be falling as the rain rather than the snow. So here are just some descriptive sentences for the impacts of the floods. Here is some information about the drought. So here it divides the droughts into meteorological droughts and agricultural droughts. Meteorological droughts usually indicates the less rainfall, and agricultural is about the less soil moisture. And it will likely increase the frequency of the hydrological droughts. So it means there will be more drought events. So here is says the semi-arid area or arid areas are particularly exposed to the impacts of fresh water. So here it also indicates the region of the middle part, the source part of US, because that is a arid area that the competition for the water resources is very severe. But in recent years, we also heard a lot of news about the precipitation in the desert areas, such as the Middle East and as well as the west part of China. So here it also indicates the uniform distribution of the climate change. Here are some predictions about the affected area. You can see here the proportion of land surface in extreme drought is expected to increase by a factor of 10 to 30, and the frequency of extreme drought will increase by a factor of 2, and the mean drought duration likely to increase by a factor of 6. So here is just the prediction, so there's no need to remember these numbers. So we just have an impression that the drought, the duration, the frequency will both increase because of the climate change. Here's the last part about water resources. This is the water pollution. Actually, we heard a lot about water pollution. In general, in our daily life, the water pollution is about the contamination caused by the industry, such as the drainage to the river. So here, the water pollution is different from that water pollution. This is about the temperature increase will cause some strong precipitation or the drought areas. This is the resuspension of some items to the water. We can see here one by one. The pollutant, the sediments, nutrients, dissolved organic carbon, the pathogens, pesticides, salt, and they will be washed to the fresh water because of the intense rainfall. Because the heavy precipitation can have erosion effect on the ground, so it will release some nutrients into the water. You can see impacts on ecosystem, human health, water system reliability, operating costs, resuspension of the bottom sediments, the liberating compounds because low water levels. Low water levels is caused by the drought because of the exposed to the sunshine. So it means the top layer can be the dry layer, and then some compounds can be released. And then there's more intense eutrophication, algae blooms at higher temperatures. This is caused by temperature increase. Temperature increase can favor the proliferation of the algae, so it will cause the eutrophication. So algae blooms is a big problem for some areas, especially for sometimes for the city. It can be a safety issue for the city water. The last one is acidification due to CO2. Because the seawater can absorb CO2 into the water, so it will cause, because CO2, when CO2 dissolves into the water, it can be acidic. So this is acidification because of the CO2. So any question about the water resources? So here there are some videos to as a supplementary for the PowerPoint. So you can have a look after the class. The second part is about ecosystem. So here the definition of an ecosystem is a community made up of living organisms and non-living components, such as air, water, and mineral soil. So it's mainly about, so here we will mainly talk about how climate change affect the living organisms. In water resources, it's mainly caused by the temperature increase. So so for all the parts of our natural system and human system are caused by the temperature increase. So you can see here the ecosystems exposed to the highest CO2 level in the past 800,000 years, and they also experienced the highest global temperatures in the past 800,000 years. And because the temperature increase is indeed happening in the past. So I think in the first part we already talked about the reasons, some reasons. So from this figure we can also see the increase of the temperature. This is 8050 to nowadays. So you can see this is the global average temperature. You can see previously it's very stable, and then since the industrialization, the temperature increased gradually. So the ecosystems are indeed experiencing the highest temperature and highest CO2 concentration in the past. Here it indicates 800,000 years. So this will alter the structure, the biological structure, and reduce the biodiversity and prevent the normal functioning of the most ecosystems. So and then it will compromise the services they provide, because the ecosystem is an important part of our economy source. So if the ecosystems are affected, it means our economy will also be affected. So here it indicates the land use and the associated landscape fragmentation will also impede the species migration and impair the natural adaptation to the geographical change. The land use change. because so far there are some professors are doing this research about how we can respond to climate change. So it's possible that in the future we will change the function of each land to make our cities more resilient to the climate change. So this is ongoing study. The landscape of fragmentation maybe is about the bridges or the highways. So they will block the migration of the species from one side to another side. So here it seems like the last part. So the risks in the future will increase as the warming is further increased. So the factor is very simple. So the climate change is now already affecting us, and in the future, the temperature will continue increasing. So this will further increase the risks of the negative impacts. So this is a very simple logic. So here is how the animal species respond to climate change. So they have to move their ranges, alter their abundance, and shift their seasonal activities. So here for the first one, so for the move their ranges, so can you imagine what is the meaning of this sentence? So because of the global warming, they have to move their ranges. So any reason, and then the underlying logic about this part. Okay, so you can just give a thought to it. So the temperature increase, it means we know that the equator regions had higher temperature, and the temperature will decrease. I say further to the north. So if the global temperature increases, it means the north part of our planet temperature there will also increase. It means if the animal species prefer the high temperature, it means they can migrate further to the north because the temperature in the north part is increased. It means the enlarge for their to live. So this is the meaning of the moving their ranges. So we have some examples in the following slides about the migration of the animals to the new regions. So so here it says there will be some plants that cannot respond to the climate change at increasing temperature increase. So for that case, so here's an example about the animal migrations. So this figure shows the migration of the bird. This is not the flying distance. This is the regions for their activity. So we can see for 1965, if we take the 1965, the position of their habitat as 0. So and then after around 40 years, 2005, their habitat is already moved further to the north. It's around 40 miles further to the north. So it means this is caused by the temperature increase. This example is about a new butterfly in Hong Kong. So you can see the Prosopis nora is first spotted in Hong Kong because of the warmer temperatures in Hong Kong. Previously, this butterfly lives in India, Malaysia, or the Philippines. So that is the tropical regions. So because of the temperature increase, so far they can live in Hong Kong. So we can see this. This is near Taipo. Taipo is the north part of Hong Kong. So if the temperature increase continues, there will be some animals or species cannot respond to climate change. So for this scenario, the extinction will happen. So here you can see the 20 to 30% of species are at high risks of extinction because if the temperature exceeds 2 to 3 degrees Celsius. And here are some factors that behind the extinction. So that we can see the warming temperature increase, sea ice loss. This is about the Arctic regions because of the solar bears. The habitat may be lost because of the high temperature in the summer. Second, the parameter is variations in precipitation reduce the river flows. Maybe some fishes lived in the rivers because of the precipitation change, so their habitat will be affected by that. Ocean acidification. Because of the CO2 concentration increase in the atmosphere. And their interactions with habitat modification, overexploration of stocks, and pollution. So all these factors will cause the extinction of species in the future. So far, many species are already experiencing the extinction because of human activity, and the temperature increase will be another factor for the extinction. And see here, the biodiversity loss will be irreversible. We have an example about a coral reef in the sea because of the temperature increase. Here is some description about the impact. We can see there will be substantial changes in the structure, functioning of the marine ecosystem because of the temperature of 2 to 3 degrees Celsius increase in the future. And the CO2 concentration increase will cause ocean warming. Will change the carbonate chemistry. This is known as the ocean acidification. So ocean acidification will cause the organism physiology change, the behavior change, and the population dynamic change. And you can see that the impact size will be increased if the temperature is further increased. So this is just some simple descriptions about the process, about the impact. Here are two examples about the planktonic and shallow benthic marine organisms. Here is corals and marine snails. Also, some sentence about the tropical and subtropical aquatic system. The negative here it indicates 25% across Africa will be affected by the temperature increase. Here the example of coral reef. So we can see some details about the devastating of the coral reefs by the temperature increase. So actually, we already recognize this phenomenon, the coral reef bleaching, for many years. I think many of us already know this phenomenon. So because there are a lot of documentary videos from the BBC to show our beautiful marine species as well as the bleaching of the coral reef. So here are some information about the response of coral reef to the temperature increase. You can see there are some here are some scientific facts about the coral reef. So you can see when the ocean temperatures stay higher than the seasonal average for a few weeks, so the corals can expel their algae and leaving only wet skeleton. So this process is called the bleaching of the coral reef. So it means if the temperature is higher than the average just a few weeks, it will cause the bleaching phenomenon. And after the because the temperature increase has two meanings. The first one is the average temperature increase. The 1.1 and the 1.2 degrees Celsius increase indicates the average temperature increase. Actually, there is also the short-term temperature increase. The short-term temperature increase may be higher than 1.1, 1.2, maybe a few degrees Celsius decrease, maybe just for short time. In general, we can call it the heat waves. So here, I mean, the heat waves can lead to the white skeletons, the bleaching. And after bleaching of the coral reefs, so you can say it will take 10 to 15 years for the corals to grow back to the original grow back. It means it takes 10 to 15 years to attract the corals to go back to the white skeletons. So just to attract the corals to the reefs, it will take 10 to 15 years. And if the coral reef system want to recover to the original status, it will take around 20 to 30 years. It needs much longer time to recover. And here's a number about the area affected by climate change. Here, this number is 38% of the coral reefs will. This is the prediction because this is the next. Because this PowerPoint is already prepared maybe some years ago. So actually, from the online we can check. There are a lot of numbers about this fraction of the affected by climate change. So some is 14, some is 20. So we just need to know the so no matter it's 10, 20, or 30%. So there is still a large area of the coral reefs are affected by the climate change. For some localized region, the ratio may be much higher. So here it summarizes some vulnerable ecosystems when facing the climate change. The first one is the coral reefs because they are sensitive to the sea temperature. Second one is the sea ice biome because the example is the polar bears. We can also see many videos to introduce this part, because of the sea ice loss in the summer. So the starving polar bears, we can see a lot of videos to show the starving polar bears in the Arctic regions. And the high latitude ecosystems, here is the boreal forest. And the mountain ecosystems, the Mediterranean climate ecosystems. For these ecosystems, we can see there are a lot of species there, but the temperature, the environment there is harsh. For example, the CS, the Arctic regions, and for Mediterranean climate system, because this is the dry area in the summer, so the precipitation can has a significant effect in that region. Here are also some two examples of the ecosystem that are least vulnerable, such as the savannas and species poor desert. So why they are less vulnerable to the climate change? So I think it's just because there are not many animals, not many plants there, so they're already at the bottom. So the climate change don't have much effect in these regions. And in the future, it's also subject to the uncertainty related to CO2 fertilization effect and disturbance regimes such as fire. CO2 fertilization, because the plants need to inhale the CO2 for growth, and then expel oxygen to the atmosphere. So the CO2 concentration increase in general will favor the growth of the forest. And the fire, we will talk about the fire in the next class, because the fire is a big threat to the forest. The fire can destroy a large area of the forest. In general, every year there will be many fires in the mountain regions all over the world. So the fire, because the temperature increase, it will reduce the vapor content in the plants. So it favors the fire. Okay, so here we can have a short-term discussion about this question. So the first one is through which parameter the climate change affects us. Second one is about why cities in river basins are vulnerable, and why do the animals migrate. So here we can take a few minutes to discuss with your classmates or with your neighbors about this. So this can reflect some basic logic of the climate change impact. Can you try again and see if you can see it? Okay, so let's go back to these three questions. So the first one is parameters. So the reason of climate change is the CO2 concentration increase in the atmosphere. It's not only the CO2, there are also some other greenhouse gases, such as the methane. So the first step is the greenhouse gas concentration increase in the atmosphere. Then it caused the temperature increase. So the temperature increase itself is a threat to our natural system and our human system. This is average temperature increase. The temperature increase can also cause the instability of the atmosphere. It can cause the extreme weather events, the more frequent extreme weather events. It can affect our natural and human system. So the temperature increase can also lead to the melting of glaciers. So it will cause the sea level rise. Sea level rise is a big threat to coastal cities or the ecosystem there. And yes, this is the main logic behind the climate change impact. So why are cities in river basins are vulnerable? Because the climate change will cause the variability of the precipitation. So it can cause the heavy precipitation in some regions. So for this case, it will cause the flooding of the river basins. Possibly it will flood the city. For some regions, the drought is a typical feature of climate change. So it will reduce the runoff of the river. So it will lower the river surface and threaten the water resources of the cities along this river. There are also some cities is at the coastal cities, and it's also in the river basin. So for these cities, they will be affected by both the variation of the runoff of the river, but also affected by the sea level rise, the tropical cyclones from the sea. So they are affected by many factors, by many situations. For why do animals migrate? This is because the temperature or extreme weather events will affect their habitat, and so for this situation, they have to migrate to new regions, and the temperature increase will create new regions for them. So it will enlarge their habitat. The third part about food, fiber, and forest product. This is mainly about this is the part of the agriculture and the forestry industry. So here we will talk about something about how climate change affect the food, fiber, and forest. In the next class, we will also talk about this part from the economy perspective, because agriculture is an important part of our economy. So far, we already have some evidence to show the climate change is already affecting our crop and the terrestrial food production. In middle to high latitude regions, the moderate warming can benefit the crop and the pastoral yield. This is for some cold regions, the temperature increase can increase the product of the crops. A little bit of positive effect here. And for the dry and low latitude regions, the warming can decrease the yields because the crops sometimes are sensitive to the temperature, especially such as the daytime temperature. If the daytime temperature is higher to a thread, it means sometimes the crop cannot grow well at the high temperature. Also, the high temperature in the night will increase the consumption of the nutrition accumulated in the daytime. So this is for the dry and low latitude regions. The further warming has increasing the negative impacts in our regions. It means if the temperature is further increased from the long term, all the effects are negative. So we can see if the temperature increases 2 degrees Celsius or higher, the major crops such as wheat, rice, and maize in tropical and temperate regions, the production will be reduced because of temperature increase. And if the temperature increases up to 4 degrees Celsius, there will be large risks of food security, both globally and regionally. This talks about the future, the long-term effect if the temperature is really up to 3 degrees Celsius or 4 degrees Celsius. So this is we can think this is the prediction about the future. So here is the figure to show the impact on different regions and the different species of the crops in the past. You can see for most of the regions or most of the species, the yield in general is lower than 0. It means most part is the negative effect. So here it mentions the extreme weather events. So in these two slides, it shows the average temperature increase, the effect from average temperature. So here for the extreme weather events, so here you can see the extreme daytime temperature. If it's around 30, so the crop yields will be greatly negatively sensitive. It means the yield will be reduced because of the daytime temperature increase. And the extreme weather events will lead to the heat stress, the drought, and flood events. These extreme weather events will further reduce the crop yield for many regions. The climate change will also modify the fire risk, the pest pathogen outbreaks. So this is another factor about impact because of the fire possibility and the new pathogens, invading pathogens to the new areas. Because of temperature increase, that means they can maybe previously there's no such kind of viruses or bacteria. So after the temperature increase, so they can penetrate into these new regions and will cause the crop yield. Okay, because we will talk about more about the agriculture and the impact in the next class. That part is about the economy or the climate change. There will be more information in next class about agriculture. So here is the forestry productivity. So here we can see in general, in the short term or the midterm, the commercial forestry productivity will rise modestly. So this is a modest positive effect, and there will be large regional variability for different regions. And let's see, for different regions there will be a modest increase, and some regions may have the slight decrease. And the variability in region and local changes is large. So let's see, for low latitude regions in the short term they will increase, and from the long term, the high latitude regions will also benefit from the temperature increase. In general, the high temperature and the high CO2 concentration will promote the growth of the forest, of the plants or the plants or forest. This is good for the forestry productivity, but this is not good for the agricultural productivity because the crop will grow faster and larger, but there will be less nutrition to the crop yield, to the seeds. So this is the forestry industry. Okay, so we can take a 10 minutes break. So you can take a rest, and if you have any question, you can ask. Okay, let's continue. Uh, because here we collected all the information. I cannot say all the information. It's most of the information about the climate change impact in these 4 classes. So actually here we have a lot of information for each PowerPoint. But the content is quite easy to understand. There's no much deduction here. So you can just, if you just know this knowledge, then you can understand the progress. So this part is about the coastal systems and the low-lying areas. So here we put it as a separate part here because this is affected by two regions. The first one is external marine system because it's caused by the form of tropical cyclones or the high wind, the storms. So the sea will have a continuously erosion effect on the coastal system. And on the other side, this part is also affected by the terrestrial system. So because such as from the effect from the rivers or runoff change of the rivers. So here there are many keywords here. Climate change will cause the storms. The storms can affect the marine system. The marine can affect the coastal system. The waves, sea level rise can also affect the coastal system. Temperature increase, itself can affect the coastal system. CO2 concentration increase, the runoff of the rivers affect the coastal system. So the coastal systems are affected by 2 regions, by 2 parts. Here are some sources of the impacts. Higher sea levels. This will emerge some part of the coastal system. The increasing temperatures. This is not a direct effect. Maybe this can indicate the temperature increase or the heat waves can affect the people's health in the cities. The changes in precipitation. This will cause the variation of the flow rate of the rivers, or it means it will bring the variability of the water resources. The larger storm surges. Here we in general indicated as the tropical cyclone, the typhoon from the sea. The increased ocean acidity. The increase of the ocean acidity will enhance the erosion of the coastal structures. So, for example, in Hong Kong, we have many buildings near the sea. So there will be a threat to the pillars of the buildings. For the sea level rise, it will cause the submergence, the coastal flooding, the coastal erosion. So here easy to understand. And here's the severity of the extreme events to coastal system. As here, because 120 million people exposed to tropical cyclone hazards, and 250,000 people killed in the past maybe 20 years. And the rise of sea level will contribute to the coastal inundation, the coastal erosion, ecosystem losses, considerable local and regional variation due to other factors. Okay, so it's just coastal inundation is just this is the flooding from the rivers. Erosion is from the sea. Ecosystem losses is because in the coastal system there are many plants in the shallow water, so they work as a barrier between the sea and the coastal cities. So in general, such as the mangroves. So the ecosystem loss, if the sea level rise, so the current ecosystem may be submerged beneath the sea. Here the storm surge, the flooding of the coastal area by typhoon. The storm surge here means the flooding from the sea. This is caused by two mechanisms. The first one is the high winds. You can see here, the high winds will push the seawater against the coast, and then it will increase the sea level by just the wind. This is one way of how the storm surge affect the coastal system. The second one is the tropical cyclone. Because Hong Kong often suffered from the tropical cyclone, so we can always see some news about the sea level rise around 1 meter, 2 meters, or 3 meters. So this is caused by the landing of the tropical cyclone. So the reason is just like this. So for the tropical cyclone, there will be a low pressure region in the middle part, and for the outer regions, the pressure is normal, just the normal pressure. So there will be a pressure gap between the inner part and the outer region. Because of the lower pressure in the middle, so the pressure will push the sea level in the outer regions to goes to the inner region. So in the center of the tropical cyclone, the sea level is usually higher than the normal sea level. So in the landing process, this high level sea surface will directly flood the coastal cities. Here is some estimation about the economy loss from the storm surges in the past. You can see the frequency is increased by 1.5 times. If the sea level rise is 30 centimeters, the areas being flooded will be around 1,000 square kilometers. And here is the economy loss, larger than 1 billion loss. And the recovery cost for this area will be 100 billion. And there will be other direct costs, such as the construction of the new dams, seawalls, the loss of agricultural or commercial industry productivity. So so it means there will be great loss from the sea level rise. But the sea level rise is not an urgent problem because the sea level rise is very slow. It's around maybe a few centimeters, maybe just a few centimeters per decade or something like this. So here is about a figure to show the sea level rise, and some areas will be submerged by the sea. You can see if there is 60 meters higher of the sea level, you can see most of the plain regions in the Pearl River Delta will be flooded by the sea. As for Shenzhen here, and for Hong Kong, the Kowloon area will be flooded, the airport regions and the north part of Hong Kong. So the 60 meters here is based on the melting of the glacier. If we consume all the glaciers are melted, the sea level rise will be around 60 meters. So of course this is the extreme condition. So there is a website to show the detailed flood areas with different sea level rise. You can So here, so the default value here is 400 meters, so it's too large. If we put 60 here, you can see the North China Plain will be totally submerged here, if 60 meters higher sea level. And for Hong Kong region, for the Pearl River Delta region, most of plain areas are submerged here. And we can put a small value here for 1 meter. Let's take a look at the 1 meter case. So for 1 meters, some areas, the coastal areas, is already some coastal area already beneath the sea. And for polio, we can see some regions will be filled by seawater as well as the west column. So okay, you can try for other regions here by yourself. Here's some questions for this. So how does climate change affect the crop yields? So in this PowerPoint, we mentioned that the extreme weather events will cause the reduce of the crop yield. The temperature increase, the daytime temperature increase will reduce the crop yield. And in the next class, we will talk about more factors that will affect the agriculture, such as the viruses, the invaded diseases, or the grasses, and so on. Many factors can affect agriculture. And why does forestry productivity increase modestly? This is just caused by the temperature increase. Higher temperature will favor the growth of the forest. So there will be also the precipitation. The enhanced precipitation will also favor the growth of the forest. And why is the coastal system easily affected by climate change? Because the coastal system is the boundary of the terrestrial region and the marine system, so it can be affected by the factors from the both sides. So this is the simple reason for this part. Okay, this part is about industry, settlement, and society. Industry here mainly indicates the secondary industry, the manufacturing in the factory. The settlement is the cities or the buildings. The society is here is the human health. So the industry, the settlement, and society are vulnerable under the climate change. It's mainly related to extreme weather events instead of the gradual climate change. So why it is mainly caused by the extreme weather events, not the average temperature increase. So you can think about this. So why it's mainly about the weather events, not the temperature, average temperature. So it's because for industry or for our human, our activities are mainly inside the buildings. So the average temperature increase, that's just 1.1 or 1.2 or 1.3 degrees Celsius increase. So it doesn't have a much effect on the industry or on the industrial activity inside the buildings. Because if the temperature increase, because nowadays we have the air conditioner to control the temperature inside the buildings. And the 1.2 degrees Celsius increase is not a big factor for the inner temperature, for the building inner temperature. So but the average temperature will induce many extreme weather events. So this part is more severe. It can has some hazardous effect to the buildings. For example, the precipitation, it can flood the factories or the buildings. The heat wave can also has effect to human health because when we are walking outside of the buildings. So this is the industry, settlement, and society. So this is different from the agriculture, because the temperature increase itself has a negative effect for agriculture. So here it gives for typical extreme weather events, the heat waves. Just in this summer, I think Hong Kong is suffering from the heat wave. There's a quite longer time heat wave. This summer is also quite hot. The drought, flooding we have mentioned in previous, and the tropical cyclone. This is not only the coastal cities but also the inner cities suffer from the tropical cyclone. Global warming, because the extreme weather events, even there's no climate change, there will also some extreme weather events. But the temperature increase will increase the frequency of the extreme weather events. It means there will be more tropical cyclones or the longer time heat waves or more severe heat waves. Here are some examples about the extreme weather events. One is the 2021 in Zhengzhou. This is by the heavy precipitation. Large area is flooded by the raining water. And then the second one is about the Poyanghu in Jiangxi. So this is about the drought in 2022. From the figure, I can see in 2022 the July, the black color indicates the water here. So but there's only less than 2 months later because of the drought in the summer. So you can see from the satellite, most of part are occupied by the green part. I think this is the grass here. I remember every year we can see the news about the drought in the Poyanghu. Seems this is the common problem for that part. But the climate change will make this situation more severe in the future. And here the devastating floods in Pakistan and the Middle East, the deadly floods in Middle East. And the 2019 and 2020, the Australian wildfire. So this is just some examples before 2022. I remember in the last 2 years we can also receive some news about the floodings in different areas because of the many flooding are caused by. I remember it's caused by the tropical cyclone because the landing and then disappear in the middle part of the China. So we can always see some news about the flooding and the drought possibly in the future we can receive more information about that, about these events. And here is the example of the typhoon in 2018. We have Mangkok. This is a signal 10 typhoon. The landing area is pretty close to Hong Kong, so for this typhoon, it is signal 10. I remember for this example, for this case with the number 10 for 10 hours. I remember the signal 8 is for around 2 days. It's around 2 days. And you can see the sea level rise here caused by the landing process. You can see here it's 4.7 meters, 3.5 meters. And for the cyclone, it's 3 meters. For the airport, around 4 meters. So this is the tropical cyclone. This is a summary of Hong Kong's worst typhoons. Here, this example is the Solar in 2023. This is also a signal 10 typhoon. The sea level rise, you can see, is around 3 meters. 3 meters. Actually, 3 meters is a quite large number because we are very close to the coastal region, close to the sea. So here is a figure to show the river in Shatin. So anyone, I think many students have been to this region. So because it's a place for riding bicycles. So you can see where is the Shatin. So this is the PolyU here, and the Shatin. So this part, and this river is connected to the sea. So the storm surge will cause the sea level rise. So it means this is the river from the mountains to the sea. So the figure, it should be this area, the trail, the small trail for the ride, for walking, or you can see this is in normal days there's no water. This is for pedestrian here, but in the typhoon days, the sea water just flooded this road. Okay, so I think if you have time, you can go to Shatin to rent a bike and ride around there. It has very beautiful scenery there. Okay, so here is some there are some benefits for the temperate and polar regions as well. For other areas, the effects are negative. So why for polar regions the effects are benefits? So because nowadays the Arctic area or the polar regions are covered by the ice. So possibly in the future, the melting of the ice there may create some new regions for people to build some cities there. So you can see the industries in the coastal or river run are likely to expose to the extreme weather events by the flooding or the tropical cyclone. And the industry related with agriculture will also experience negative effects. Economic loss, cost, and the insurance premium will also increase. Because we can obviously see some news to say we have how much economic loss, money loss because of the typhoon landing. The insurance premium will increase. Actually, this is not so directly to understand because in China or in general we don't buy insurance for our housing, but this is common for the US because there are many cyclones there or the tornado there. So if there will be more extreme weather events, that means there will be more houses be damaged by the extreme weather. So the insurance company will have to increase the premium to balance the income and the outcome. We will talk about this in next class for more details. So here, the poor nations suffer more from the climate change. This is for settlement. Just as indicated by the video, the people in the mountains are already affected by the heavy precipitation or the drought. But if the people living in cities cannot feel this so much, because we have resilient, the cities are more resilient than the mountain areas because cities has more resources to respond to climate change. This is the human health, well-being, and security. Just similar like before regions, our health is also affected by the temperature change, the precipitation change, the occurrence of the extreme weather events, the heat waves, floods, droughts, and we are also indirectly affected by the crop failures, shifting patterns of disease factors, and the change of air water quality. So the agriculture can also, so that climate change can affect the agriculture and then affect the human health because some poor regions maybe don't have enough food. If it affects their agriculture, it means some people will experience starvation. The variability of temperature is also a risk factor. This is the heat-related deaths. This may be the heat waves. So all these factors can affect human health. That is the physical part of the climate change. So you can see here, climate change will also induce some new diseases, health-related illnesses. Here you can see there will be some infectious diseases, new infectious diseases in the north part, such as Lyme disease in Canada. The extreme weather events can affect human health. The crop yield failure can also affect because of malnutrition, starvation. This is the disease, dengue fever. Dengue fever, can see the figure. It mainly happens in the tropical regions or the south part of China. So if you live in the north of China, so in general we don't hear much about the dengue fever. But if you go hiking in Hong Kong, you can see some signs on the way, the dengue fever. In summer there are always some dengue fever cases in here. And there will be fewer deaths from cold and more deaths from the heat. This is the mosquito. The dengue fever is transferred by the mosquitoes. And then the ticks can transmit some infectious diseases such as malaria. Here's some data to show the relationship of temperature increase and the epidemic potential. So for 3 degrees Celsius increase, there will be 4% increase of the epidemic potential. I mean, there will be more people will be infected by dengue fever. So in summer, the ratio is much higher. It's around 80%. In the winter, it's much lower because in winter there will less mosquitoes. Case malaria disease for 3 degrees Celsius increase will cause 18.7% increase of this malaria. And here it indicates there will be some new diseases because of climate change. This is mainly about the Arctic area, the melting of the soil there. The melting will release new viruses or the germs to the human society. So here is an example to show how the scientists recover the influenza virus from the Arctic, from Alaska area. So because the region there is very cold, so the cold temperature can protect the DNA or the RNA of the viruses. So the scientists can not recover, just detected some pieces of the influenza virus RNA in the dead people there, buried in the ice. So if you want to know more information, you can see this video here. So finally, we will take Hong Kong as an example to analyze the temperature increase and energy consumption. Here this is 2015. Summer was the hottest since the record, but today we know the record is broken by last year. 2023 is the hottest year in the past. The mean summer temperature is increased 29.4, and El Nino global warming are pushing temperatures to record higher. So in that, because last year we are suffered from the El Nino phenomenon. El Nino, this is about the water temperature of the Pacific Ocean in the equator region. In general, the temperature is uniform in the Pacific Ocean. So, but for the El Nino phenomenon, it means the extremely higher temperature in Southeast Asia. So it will bring a higher temperature in Asian area. So maybe we'll talk about it in the next class for more information. Okay, that's news about the 2023 summer. It is the hottest year. It reached the temperature 29.7. So you can see here in 2015, the highest temperature is 20. This is not this is the mean temperature 29.4, but the last year is 29.7, and the lower figure is the number of the days of extreme hot days. You can see 50 years ago, the number of hottest days is roughly 15 days, and it increased gradually from the 2005. You can see the number of hottest days increased greatly in recent 20 years. Here the electricity consumption in Hong Kong in the past 50 years, you can see it increased greatly from 2000 joule to 2000 joule. So far it's around 8 times. So it's caused by many factors. So climate change is also a big contributing factor to this energy consumption. This is some data for temperature increase and electricity consumption. For the 3 degrees Celsius increase, we will have 15% increase of the energy consumption. And the energy cost for 1 degree Celsius increase, 1.7 billion. For 3 degrees Celsius, it's close to 6 billion. Okay, so because of the temperature increase, so in recent years, the government launched many research projects to try to reduce the energy cost, to reduce the energy consumption. For example, there will be some project to study the new coating for buildings to reflect the light to the space, so to reduce the cooling load of the buildings. Because for the energy consumption in Hong Kong, I remember there are around 30% or 40% energy consumption is caused by the building sector. So the building sector is a very important energy consumption. So in recent years, the government is invest a lot to this part to try to reduce the energy consumption in the future. Not only the energy consumption is one part. Another part about the research is the air pollution. I think you have a presentation topic about the relationship between the climate change and air pollution. So there are also some people studying the emerging air pollution from in the future because of the global warming. So the climate change is already a well-known phenomenon in the scientific part, in the scientific community. So many researchers are working on this part. Here are some questions. So we can take some time to think about or discuss with your classmates for these questions. Because for the second part, by examination, we don't have calculation. So in general, we have around maybe 20 multiple choices and maybe 6 short answer questions. So it's not difficult, but it's not easy to get a very good score. So because we have a lot of information in this part, from the physical part of our planet to biological system to our human health and to our economy. And then finally, we will talk about the mitigation part, how we can that's about our economy. We can take some measures to reduce the carbon emission. And so because we have a lot of information in this section. Okay, so for the first question is how does climate change affect human health? The beginning is the temperature increase. Temperature increase can cause extreme weather events. All kinds of extreme weather events can affect human health, such as the heat waves, heavy precipitation. Because in the summer, people can, especially for the people working outside of the building, the heat stroke is very common for them. So if there is unexpected heat waves, so possibly they will be not well prepared for that case. So the heat stroke is an important factor for human health. The heat waves, the precipitation, the heavy precipitation may cause some flooding of the lands. So it will threaten human health. This is the physical parameters. The climate change will cause the crop failure, will reduce the crop product. So for some poor regions, people may suffer from the starvation, don't have enough food. This can affect the human health, especially for the kids. These are two reasons. Another one is the diseases, new diseases, or the expansion of the diseases. So more people can be affected by different kinds of infectious diseases. Okay, so for the question 2, so do you think the coastal flooding is severe? This question. So if you live in the cities, in the coastal cities, or if you live near the rivers, or no, maybe we can say if you are affected by, because we already heard some news about some regions are flooded by the flooding. So if your home is just in that area, so you will think the coastal flooding is very severe. So, but I think for most of us, we are not affected by this factor. So this is the common human psychology. So we will talk about this in the third class, because this is why some people don't respond fast to climate change, because most of people so far are not affected. They don't suffer from the loss, or economy loss, or the health damage from the climate change. Third question is, does your city is affected by climate change? So this is related with the second one. So if we are affected by climate change, we will think this is a severe problem. And but in general, from the person, but in general, the climate change is a global problem. It cannot, in general, it's mainly it's not easy for a person to change this problem. In general, it's the policymaker or the government to implement some policies. This is the El Nino expected to last at least until April 2024. So maybe let's have a search about this, because there are many videos to show this phenomenon. And it's possible that this year we will experience the La Nina. In general, the El Nino and the La Nina. So we can have a search. Well, this seems a very a very complex ocean water movement. So earning this is just like a wing of the hot surface water in the Pacific Ocean. So in the last year, we experienced the El Nino phenomena. So in general, the La Nina phenomena follows the El Nino. So it's possible that in this year we will have the La Nina phenomena, but some research indicates we still need the continuous observation. So it's expected that we will have La Nina at the end of this November. So because I don't study the El Nino or La Nina effect. So if you want to know more information, you can search online by yourself to know more about this phenomena. Because it's an important phenomena that also affects the temperature, the global temperature. So here are some remarks about the impacts on natural system and human system. So here is some summary. So if the temperature increase up to 2 to 3 degrees Celsius by 2050, so there will be melting glacier. So initially there will be increase of flood risk, and then there will be strongly reduced water supplies because the depletion of the glacier in the mountains. There will be more intense precipitation, both flooding and drought for different areas. There will be declining crop yields, coastal flooding, cold-related deaths will decrease, and heat-related deaths will increase in the future. There will be more infectious diseases, so the infectious diseases will occupy more areas. Ecosystems of 15 to 40% are facing extinction, ocean acidification. This is the temperature of 2 to 3 degrees Celsius increase. For Arctic area, impacts of high risk of projected warming on natural systems. We also have a presentation topic about the Arctic region. So based on your presentations, based on the previous presentation, the Arctic area experienced the fastest temperature increase compared with the global average temperature increase. It's roughly around 4 times faster than the average temperature increase in Arctic area. So if you choose this topic, you can talk more about the reasons. And then for Africa, sub-Saharan regions, because of low adaptive capacity, this is mainly because of the people there mainly relies on the agriculture there. Small islands exposed to the sea level rise. Small islands in the Pacific Ocean, so some part are already submerged by the sea. And Asian mega deltas, the Ganges, Pearl River deltas, because of the storm surge and the river flooding, all regions will be exposed to the impacts, especially the poverty, the young children, and elderly. These fragile people will suffer more from the climate change. And for ecosystems, terrestrial, tundra, boreal forests, mountains, these regions are vulnerable. The mangroves in the coastal regions, the salt marshes, they are the ecosystem in the coastal regions are very important to protect the coastal economy. Coral reefs, the sea ice biome, low-lying coastal regions, increased threatened by the sea level rise. The water resources in mid-latitude and dry tropics will decrease in rainfall and higher risk of evapotranspiration because the temperature increase will cause the higher evapotranspiration. This is the water loss. Agriculture in low-latitude regions reduce the water availability. Here, this is corresponding to the monsoon change in India. Because India is affected by the monsoon, temperature increase will change the monsoon there and affect their agriculture. We will talk about this in next class. Human health, low adaptive capacity. This indicates the mountain areas or the poor people. And we have two conclusions. So, had far-reaching consequences. It will affect all walks of life, from individual to enterprises to cities to states and to countries. For individual, it's about human health. For enterprises, this is industry. So because the extreme weather events will cause some unexpected loss for the industry, the cities, flooding and droughts, states to countries. Not only human beings are affected, all ecosystems are affected also. There are long-term as well as short-term effects. From the long-term, all effects are negative. From the short-term, some regions or some sectors experience a positive effect. There will be increase in weather-related extreme weather events. Benefit from some countries may benefit from the climate change in the short term. So can you imagine which country can benefit from the climate change? So in general, it's the countries close to the Arctic region, such as Russia, the Canada. So for the Arctic area, temperature increase may also create the conditions for the new journey ship or new ship route from the Arctic areas. Because nowadays the Arctic region covered by the ice, so in the future it may be easier for ship to pass through that region. So it will be a new route to connect the Europe and Asia. Global warming is affecting all the world. It's impacting all dimensions: the sea, the land, the sky, the tropics, subtropical, temperate, and the tundra areas. Economic impact is definite. We suffer from the negative effect from the climate change, and the impacts are not even distributed. Poorest countries and the people will suffer easiest most from the climate change. And when the damage appears, it will be too late to reverse the process, and so we are forced to look long ahead. So this is a summary of the impacts of climate change from different the features of the impacts. So this is all the content of this class. In the next week, we will talk about the economic consideration. It's the balance between the cost by the climate change and the cost of if we do some measures. So there is a compare between the two parts. So if you do you have any question about this part? Okay, so no question. We can stop here and see you next week. If you have any question about the calculation, so you can just send an email to Dr. Chin. Okay, so because I don't have much experience in calculation.